Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Josh or Milky, and it's been a while since I've made a video, and definitely a while since I've made a Torchlight video, but it's that time of the year. We have the newest Torchlight season just about to launch, and if you've been keeping up with the news about it, it is a massive one. They put out some posts not too long ago mentioning this is their biggest one to date, and they're making some very big changes to try and balance the game and make it less rapid, but not in a negative way. At least that's the intention, of course. They just want to make a smoother game where there are less spikes, where you're getting 10,000% more damage from certain things. They're trying to make it a bit more cohesive and easier to understand in terms of crafting and stuff like that. So there's tons of stuff to look at. I have a list here. There's a new hero, new game modes, alternate support gems. There's a new path of progression, which will help you get through the game. There's Netherrealm Adjustments, a massive hero trait overhaul. We're going to get to that in a bit. You're going to get free hero usage this season and a better seasonal pass. And then there's obviously new pack spirits and appearances and all that. But let's get into it. So the seasonal reveal itself happened today, and we'll go in and look at the juicy bits that we have. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. It's 37 minutes. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. It's 37 minutes long, and I've already watched it. And if you want to watch this video, go ahead. I'll link it in the description. But we're going to talk about the big things. So the seasonal mechanic itself, very standard Torchlight mechanic. You're going to go into maps. You're going to kill monsters. You're going to get awarded with these paints. And then you're going to be able to socket them onto your board. And in doing so, you're going to build basically a map that you're going to be able to then go through and claim the reward. So a very, very Torchlight mechanic. We've seen stuff like this before with, of course, things like City. You're also going to have a pet that interacts with it. So, I mean, if you like pets, that's good for you. If you don't like pets, then unlucky. And then we have, so we'll show some of the gameplay. Just what it's doing. It's just like a regular map. You're going to have certain encounters you're going to do. I'm sure the gameplay will be great. Obviously, this is the new hero, which we'll get to in a second. Yeah, pretty standard stuff really in it. And then we have, of course, again, a Torchlight classic, a massive skill tree to go alongside it. Most of these things, I'm sure, are just basic upgrades to the number of entries you're going to get, how rewarding it's going to be, and also, hopefully, how you interact with it. I think one thing that I want more from Torchlight mechanics is a bit more diversity in how you can like express yourself with the mechanic and just tailor it to how you like to play and stuff like that, because for a lot of mechanics that sometimes feels like it's missing. You kind of at the whim of the game, but obviously they do a lot of things, so I'm not like complaining about it, but that is what I'd like to see from, you know, further down in this tree. I'd like to see a lot of customization, but they don't show everything further down. But the mechanic itself looks very good, looks very standard for Torchlight, and a nice addition. And then we have the new hero. The new hero is, as you can see from this, a mermaid. A siren, a bard. Basically, you're going to swap between two different modes, and in doing so, you're going to either increase your damage, increase your speed, that kind of stuff. If you're familiar with Carino 3 from last season, a bit similar to that with the two different modes, but you've got something called Tide Effect. You're going to spawn like waves underneath yourself that's going to do additional damage. You're going to be able to scale that Tide Effect. We can look at the hero traits a bit later on when we get to it. But again, if you want to see any of these teasers or anything, they're going to be linked in the description. One interesting thing about this hero is you can use channeled skills whilst moving. So something here, as you can see in this video, Icy Beam, typically a skill you can't use whilst running around. On this hero, you absolutely can. And you can see that tide underneath that you can scale. You can scale the AoE. You can use the AoE to scale the damage. Yeah, pretty, again, probably going to be very strong, as most new heroes are. So you're probably not going to have too bad of a time if you choose to go with Selen, she's called at the start of the new season. She will, of course, be tied to the Battle Pass. She will be the only hero that isn't available for every single person to play, as this season they are doing kind of alongside their revamp to monetization, or some revamps to monetization. They're giving access to every single hero. So if there's one you've wanted to play but haven't been able to, Selena is going to be one. You can't, but every other one is going to be available to you. This you can only get alongside the Battle Pass, as far as I know. So yeah, cool. New champ. Awesome. Love that. You see the gameplay, very bright. Just like a bard based on music and stuff like that. Pretty cool. I think this might be an MTX. It looks a bit different to the other Tide. Maybe this is the different mode where you're doing more damage. You can see it's like purple here. Very cool. Very cool. Next, we have a massive one. So one thing that we've been wanting, at least on my end is for them to iterate on the systems they already have rather than adding more things. You know, we obviously had gems, talents, hero traits, memories, relics, candles, all these systems. Just slow. I was just thinking maybe slow down, add something into those systems, make those systems a bit more intricate so that we don't have to have like 19 different UIs for 19 different things. You've got slates as well. Like, I forgot about slates, one of the biggest ones. That's exactly what they're doing this time. They're introducing kind of like alternative support gems. If you're familiar with PoE, the kind of like transfigured gems, but they're support. So you can get supports that support specific skills. In this case, we have Ring of Ice, and you're going to be able to choose specific support gems that are awarded through the league mechanic in order to change this gem in some way to make it stronger. So we'll see if we can find one that he hovers over. Here we go. So it has an inherent role, which this indicates to me, this little purple square means this probably has a role, and you can get a higher one or a lower one, and they're probably tradable. And then the actual affix on the skill itself, if this is a role, well, this one won't be. This one says plus 20% additional damage for the support skill. So 2 instances of separate additional damage. Whether or not they add together or they are multiplicative with one another, we obviously don't know. With it being Torchlight, I'm assuming they're multiplicative. But then it says for every 1% frostbite chance plus 1% something. It's basically changing the skill in some way and the way that you would want to scale it. And there are many different ones for many different skills. Again, for this one, we can't see the whole thing. When the support skill hits an enemy, there is a chance to generate an icy ring, blah, blah, blah. But you can only use 2 of these per skill, and there's hundreds to choose from. At least across all the skills, right? There might only be a few for each one. Like, it looks like there's 3 for each one. There's even 4 for Ice Lancers, 2 for Split Firebolt, 4 for Whirlwind Blade here, 4 for Blizzard. There looks like there's an absolute ton to choose from everything. You can see they all have different kinds of effects. It's not just more damage. They all have different things. Like this one, plus 10 buff stack, upper limit for sentries deployed by the skill. Pretty cool. 20% additional duration for the skill on your sentries. Very, very interesting. Will definitely, well, hopefully, I should say, not definitely, obviously, I don't know, but hopefully bring some lesser skills into fruition, because there are a lot of skills right now that are just too weak compared to the good ones. And that's usually down to the fact that in Torchlight, the best stuff is the most played because everyone just wants to like strap on the best gear. Like last season, we had Ring of Blades Carino. You could target farm 6 legendary items and equip Ring of Blades, and you were kind of off to the races, absolutely blasting. I think they're trying to rein that in a bit. So rein in the big stuff, buffing up the weaker stuff by adding the opportunity for different ways of playing it, different vectors to scale, should be really nice for some of the lesser played skills. And I'm obviously wishful for that because why not? All right, next.
Let me show you. First up,
some examples. We have split arrow is about to show in this video. Split arrow on the left. You can see you stop, you fire. Not very Torchlight. If you've played a lot of Torchlight, you know that this game is a game where you want to kill and move at the same time. You have to stop. Ew. No one wants to stop and shoot. You want to attack and move. And that's exactly what this Transfigured Gem does. So you can see it's like spinning around whilst firing. So if you ever wanted to play Gun Whirlwind, well, there you go. You can play Gun Whirlwind. I've just been playing Dance of Knives in Diablo, so this is kind of reminiscent of that a little bit too. Pretty cool. You'll be able to play, again, a similar theme here for Ground Shaker. Normally with Ground Shaker, you run, you hit, and you have to stop. Not with Wrathful Vault, as it's called. The skill causes you to jump, so essentially it's like combining Leap Attack and Demolish and Ground Shaker. So instead of like running, stopping, hitting, you jump as you hit. So again, kind of bringing some of the less Torchlight-y skills up to being a bit more competitive in terms of how Torchlight is played, which is very automatic, very fast, and at least in terms of feel, right? In terms of power, well, I don't know, but in terms of feel, much more Torchlight. And then a nice, obviously, we love to see buffs to Whirlwind. Whirlwind will get the projectile tag, and you can see there's many, many more sweeping slashes coming out of these discs. You can scale it as a projectile instead of an AoE attack skill, which is pretty cool. Hopefully we see Whirlwind because it's been a while. And then if you ever wanted Ring of Blades to affect your minions, there you go. You can now have Ring of Blades affect your minions, as you can see in this clip right here. Normally it just affects you. In here, you can summon sentries and get, not sentries, sorry. You can summon mages and get Ring of Blades on those. Very interesting. But you will have to level these up, as they're about to show. you will get the gem at level 1, and then you need to use other instances of the same gem and some of this, I think it's paint, and you can level them up, and each time you do, obviously they're going to get stronger and stronger. You can see this inherent roll is tier 2, so maybe leveling it up takes it to tier 1. I don't yet know. Maybe that's a drop-only modifier. Again, too many unknowns right now. We don't have patch notes, but just going off what we can see, it looks pretty cool. So from level 1, it's, what, 4% additional damage from support skill. Level 2, 8%. So it was going up 4 every time. We're going to get up to 20% additional, which with the inherent effect brings it very much in line, if not more than a regular support skill.
Next up, core gameplay changes. Last season we made massive changes to our crafting system, which opened up the doors to, a lot of really creative builds and soaring build strength. However, many of you reported that ongoing seasons of development were leading to an overly complex and convoluted gameplay experience.
So, what he's just said, hopefully you could hear it. On their end, they felt like people were reporting back that it was starting to get overcomplicated, especially with here they're mentioning the legendary crafting. In my own bubble, I didn't see that. I did think the legendary crafting was kind of whatever. It wasn't like super good. It wasn't super bad. It was kind of harmless to me. I wouldn't have thought it was the first thing they'd axe after one season, but I mean, I'm glad that they have a kind of idea what they're doing, and they're like, okay, we tried this, it was okay, but it doesn't work with how we want the game to be. So they're getting rid of the legendary crafting, and they're going back to a much more Season 1-esque type of crafting. So legendaries are going to go back to being legendaries. They come with a set affix. You can't augment it in any way other than corrosions. We're back to crafting basically how we did in Season 1, to a degree. So right now, you'll know prototype crafting, targeted processing. Essentially, you make half the item with prototype crafting, and then you finish it with targeted processing. You have to use embers along the way. There are opportunities for you to ruin your item and to not have it. Not really any of that anymore. There are now 3 different types of affix that come. A basic affix, an advanced affix, and an ultimate affix. To my knowledge, you can only have 2 advanced affixes and only have 2 ultimate affixes, and you can see that the cost for these is quite steep. So what happens if you were to click on this damage mod as got shown in the video and then craft on an ultimate affix, it will give you any of these at any of their ranges. But what you can do is keep clicking until you get exactly what you want. So, or an item editor, basically, assuming you have enough currency, and you can do this for each and every mod. So you would look at this and you'd go, right, my chest, I really want additional curse and I want to explode. You go till you get that, then you look at advanced affixes, you go, okay, I want this, I want that. You get the 2 advanced affixes you want, and then you finish off with 2 basic affixes. And there is a fossil that allows you to upgrade from T1 to T0. Now, how exactly that fossil works, we don't know yet. We didn't actually see it in this, but we do know that it exists as it was mentioned on their website. So it's now very, I don't want to say easy in execution, difficult in cost, to print a perfect item, essentially. Very Season 1-esque. If you played Season 1, you simply choose the item pool you want and click the button until you get what you want. And it's not like targeted processing, where in the past, you'd have 4 mods on an item, and then you'd target process the 5th, and then the 6th is kind of like you just YOLO it, right? Now you can get exactly what you want. So much less complicated crafting. I don't think crafting was overly complicated. Obviously, I'm coming from like Path of Exile, so I'm kind of like forged in the fire at this point. But yeah, I mean, if it's better for everyone, I have no complaints. I'll have fun regardless. I think the crafting was fine. I think if this makes it better for more people than it hurts, then sure. I think it's going to be quite innocuous. But you're going to have the same items at the end of it as you would before. What this might do is bring the floor up a bit, so that players that didn't understand the crafting or couldn't execute it properly will now be able to also have very good items, assuming they farm the necessary resources. So the gap between knowledge and skill is decreasing. All that is required is that you farm a lot of resources, essentially, in order to engage with this crafting system, which is fine. I have no problem with that.
We reconstructed the affix structure of non-legendary equipment and 3 suffixes. We have also
Let's see if we can find anything more interesting about crafting. So you can see he's just spamming here, this mod here, it keeps changing. It's just any resistance in this pool is basically chosen to get here.
Can craft ultimate affixes.
So he just mentioned their priceless affixes. We'll see. I don't believe they actually showed any in this. I don't think they did. Well, essentially, a priceless affix is a item, much like before, you could drop items with T0. That would be a level 100 item. Level 100 items now come with inherent modifiers. They're called base affixes. So they exist outside of the 6 prefixes and suffixes, and they are mods that are inherent to the item. And I don't know exactly what these can be. I've seen one picture from a Chinese website where it gives like basic damage and attack speed. So it's kind of, if you've played Path of Exile, like synthesis modifiers. So you can drop synth items now, and whether or not you can craft them or change them, I don't know. Hopefully we don't have a vulture prison in TLI, but you can now get essentially synthesis items in Torchlight, and that's going to be the real end game farm, right? You're going to get a synth item with 2 perfect or 3 perfect implicit mods, and then you're going to craft 6 perfect T0s like you see on this item right here, and then you're going to corrode it and hopefully get an even better thing. Awesome. One thing I will say, they have made corrosion, you can potentially brick a corrosion now. The brick is, if you don't upgrade one of the affixes with desecration or arrogance, it becomes soulbound, so you'll no longer be able to trade it. And where this is important is in the past, if you dropped like a cool legendary, like a box or an eternity or something like that, you were kind of incentivized to just YOLO corrode it, because the difference in price was normally like it was worth doing because the good corrosions were worth so much. Now, if you drop a box and you corrode it and you miss, you can't sell it as a bricked box. It's bound to you. So takes a little bit of fun away, but adds a level of, yeah, I don't know. It's not always a positive to corrode something, I guess. Yeah, I don't know the reason for this, but whatever. It is what it is, right?
Making the entire crafting experience much more enjoyable.
Okay, next
up on our
big one. Hero traits. So hero traits have come a long way since they started. Obviously, we had the addition of hero memories and relics. Tons of them. They have complicated mechanics, and they have memories and relics that interact with those mechanics in a unique way. They've decided to rein that in, and now they are much, much more simplified, and I'll show exactly how that is. So you now have a base trait, which you can see right here at the top. And then you have 3 different selections to choose from. At level 25, you will choose your first hero trait. At level 50, you will choose your second hero trait. And at level 75, you will choose your third. Now, the Rayhan, if we go back to him, at level 50, you don't choose. So not all the heroes, it seems, are going to have an option. Some of them, you're just going to get access to a hero trait at level 50 or, I don't know, 25 or 75. We'll see if any heroes are like that. But much fewer choices and much more static how you'd build each hero, I guess, which for a lot of people, I assume is a positive, because maybe it was complicated and it was kind of hard to play each thing to its strength. But for other people, I do understand that this is kind of like it takes a bit of creativity away, if you want to call it that, because it's, you know, obviously there's not always that much experimenting going on. Most of the time, people kind of are shepherded towards the best thing, but it does take some of that away, and those quirky builds, this might take a few of those away, especially with the removal of hero memories. There are specific heroes like Carino Lethal Flash, who has desperate measures, which basically means you have to get your reload speed to a certain point so that you can attack on a certain timer. Now that's going to be impossible because those rolls for reload speed were native to memories. So could be a big issue for some heroes, but I'm sure that obviously they've balanced around this, and there's going to be something different about the hero traits. We don't see these yet. When we get them revealed in the patch notes, I may make a video on them, probably go over them on stream at least. If you catch me streaming Torchlight in the Torchlight Infinite category, that's probably what I'm going to be going over as soon as we get patch notes. And then you'll notice here, one more thing, you can get levels on your hero traits. So at level 1, this Righteous Fury gains 8 points of rage while Berserk is not active. At level 2, it gains 14. And the levels are granted by the memories. So if we go forward a smidge, you'll see here we can level up our memories. So this is a basic memory with not all that much on it. You can get affixes. Let me see if I can find a better one. Here we go. So Memory of Discipline, you can get, it has a fixed affix, which is kind of like they had before, right? Then it has a base affix, which is energy shield in this case. And then it also gains affixes at higher levels. So basically you enhance it using this resource. And as you do that, the base stat, which is max energy shield here, will go up. This is going up by 9 per level, right? And this thing has a max level of 50. So if this keeps going up by 9, on top of the base energy shield on this, which is 180, you're going to get another 450 energy shield. So this thing is going to give 630 energy shield as a base stat. And then it's also going to grant 2 additional random affixes at level 20 and 40, as well as granting additional trait levels at level 30 and potentially more at level 50. We don't know yet, but we kind of assume maybe at level 50, you're going to get an extra trait level. So, I mean, interesting. Obviously, we don't see many mods yet, but this is an interesting way of doing memories. They said that they're kind of pulling in on the more niche modifiers. I assume that means specific mods that interact with your hero trait. So let's say you're playing Yoga Space-Time Illusion, and in fact, let's go with Rayhan, because I'm assuming if you watch me, you've probably played Rayhan. You're probably going to get less things that affect your rage or give you additional damage with burst and stuff like that. Less specific to your hero trait mods, if any at all, and more generic things like damage, fizz dam, as you see here, crit damage, energy shield. I assume that's what they're going to go for. Just simplify it, make it a bit more generic. Hopefully not too vanilla, but
improvements will help players make more defined and well-informed choices throughout their gameplay.
Well, he said it better than I could, eh? That's the goal of this. Whether or not they achieve that, we'll see. What else have we got here? We have the new system. This is the, what's it called? Sorry, there's a lot to go over. Let me find it. It's called the Supreme Showdown. So you'll see on each floor, you'll get different rewards. This goes all the way up to level 20. And I'm assuming this is going to be quite difficult. Because, I mean, look at the rewards. They're really, really good. Like 100 FE, 100 FE, 100 FE. This is very end game content, I assume. And the reason I assume that is not only because of the rewards, but this chest here is a legendary seasonal pact spirit. You can get any of these pact spirits right here. Heart Binding Rose, which is the cube pact spirit. Monument Knight, which is the city pact spirit. Shepherd, which is the dream pact spirit. And Mistville Orphan, which of course is the Mistville pact spirit. So this is one of their adjustments to the monetization. You can grind out 1 previous seasonal mechanic pet. It's more than we had before. I think a lot of people got their hopes up with what they meant when they said overhaul to the monetization. I think people might have gone a bit too far, thinking it was like removal of pets and all that. This is what we ended up getting, alongside a couple of other things that are reasonably noteworthy, like getting the free heroes. At least this season, you're going to be able to play any hero for free, other than the new one, Selena. There's going to be an update to the seasonal pass, which is going to make it, you can grind it all out in one go, basically. You're no longer on a weekly like lock for quests. Also, the rewards are going to be a bit better. And then, of course, you're going to get this stuff right here. And there's the path of progression, which looks like it rewards Primacris as well. So access to more Primacris and access to 1 seasonal pact spirit from the past. I don't want to seem like I'm being ungrateful for saying 1. I mean, I get the pact spirits anyway. I'm just saying, like, temper your expectations for what was coming with this. It's great that you're going to be able to get 1. This is going to be difficult content, but if you play the game, you make a good build, you're going to be able to get a seasonal pact spirit, and this resets every season. At least that's what they said right here, right? And yeah, as you can see here, so defeating the boss grants that, and then if you do it quicker, you will get the additional rewards. Pretty cool. And then we have a bossing challenge. This is daily, so make sure you log in for your dailies. Basically, you just kick the shit out of a boss. And the more damage you do in a time limit grants you more rewards. So he's essentially like a target dummy with a few mechanics. And if you make a build that does a bajillion damage, then you're going to get more rewards. And we can see what the rewards are right here. Let's see if they scroll through them. I think they do. Yeah. So we got like FE, Embers, FE, Ultimate Embers, more FE. You know, see, so this is every day, right? So I think that was like 8 Ultimate Embers. So 8 Ultimate Embers every day, as well as some FE. Very nice. Of course, you are going to need... oh, it's also some Primacris as well. But you are obviously going to need a build that does a lot of damage. I'm not sure if there's like you need to finish in a certain place, or you just need to hit him for a certain amount of damage to get this thing. Obviously, we'll be able to figure that out. But yeah, more free stuff, which is fine by me.
Mastery over each season. We also believe that making pet spirits grindable is an important step in addressing community feedback and making Torchlight appealing to an even broader audience.
Yeah, so that's their goal, right? They know that there's a lot of stigma around the monetization and the pets. So this is their opportunity to try and give people more stuff and get more people in to see that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know it as well. The pets, as much as people dislike them and they turn some people off, Torchlight's a damn good game, and the gameplay of it is extremely fun, and the build making and stuff like that. But a lot of people are turned off by the pets, so this is a step in the right direction. Of course, do I think it's enough? We'll have to wait and see, right? I think it's good to see that they're not unwilling to budge. Let's see where we move in the future. So then we have adjustments to the Netherrealm. So they've removed, if you've watched me stream Torchlight at any point, God forbid, you'll know that I'm typically sitting 8-2, and most people normally type, haha, bad build, but for the most part, it wasn't really worth going above 8-2 unless you had an absolutely insane build that cleared the content in 8-4 as fast as you would 8-2. So they've actually gone and removed 8-3 and 8-4 because you didn't really get enough loot for how much harder it was and how much it slowed you down, at least for most builds. So they got rid of that, and they're introducing two different types of beacons. So there's Profound Time Mark 8, which we'll see here, which grants, first of all, double loot over Time Mark 8. Very similar to Deep Space in the past. You get a 4th compass slot. Netherrealm stages require 8 Time Mark beacons to start. Don't know if this is a typo. Won't read too much into that, but if it requires 8 beacons, I'm going to assume it's meant to be Time Mark 8 beacons to start. You can drop Deep Space beacons in Profound Time Mark. So the jump is obviously going to be get beacons in TA, then use Profound Time Mark to farm Deep Space, and then farm Deep Space. So there's a bit of a stepping stone between each one. And then in Profound Time Mark 8, begin dropping Priceless non-legendary gear. So this is the only place where you're going to be able to get those synthesis items, we'll call them, the Priceless non-legendary with base affixes. And you also get more exclusive drop rate of fluorescent memories, which if you have Kong, rejoice, you got even better. And then Deep Space is 3 times the loot with even more fluorescent memories. So cool. Hard to say because obviously this feels like a bit like Whiplash. We've just had Deep Space, they got rid of it, they brought it back. Now we have this Profound Time Mark where it's kind of the bridge between them. If you ask me my initial thoughts right now, which is completely needless for me to say, this seems like the middle one just seems a bit weird. Like Time Mark 8 and Deep Space, fine, but maybe they didn't want to do that because they already had that and they didn't like it. So having 2 jumps, I don't know, it's going to split people a lot. So whether or not you're going to be a Time Mark 7 farm or a Time Mark 8 farm or a Profound farm, or you're going to be one of the big boys in Deep Space, who knows? But maybe it splits people up too much. Maybe it's a good thing that it splits people up. We'll have to wait and see, because it's going to provide opportunities for you to farm different materials, because each of these reward different things. Hard to say on this, but cool that they're making changes to the end game. Just feels a bit like Whiplash to be going back to Deep Space.
Deep Space has only 1 tier and requires a rare dedicated beacon, making its difficulty highly challenging. Compared to compasses from last season, Deep Space offers a better sense of ritual and challenge, along with rewards that match the effort you put in. Additionally, the Deep Space beacon, as a high-value drop item, will be extremely valuable for Netherrealm mapping strategies focused on dropping beacons.
Exactly, which is one thing that's always been the case in Torchlight. But if you can't farm the hardest stuff, you can always farm the materials for the people that can farm the hardest stuff. And with those resources that you generate by doing that, you can improve your character so that you can become one of those people farming Deep Space. It's the natural progression that happens within the game. It's happened since the game came out, between Time Mark 7 and Time Mark 8, and then Time Mark 8 and Deep Space. And then last season, it was kind of not there. Beacons were very affluent last season, but we're now going back to a state where it's going to be, Time Mark 7, Time Mark 8, Deep Space is that natural progression. You can farm them, sell them, upgrade, become one of them. And it was worked in the past. It's not always worked perfectly, as we saw with Deep Space initially. It was just so ridiculously rewarding, and some people were just unwilling to do it. I remember when the servers merged, there were so many Deep Space beacons, but so many of the Chinese community didn't run Deep Space beacons that they were like 5 FE each, 5 to 15 FE each. I think they spiked that after I bought like literally thousands on stream, because it was just ridiculous, right? It was a beacon that granted you twice the loot. And obviously all that scaling with your pets and all that. So hopefully this time they hit the mark a bit better in terms of how rare the beacons are, how much you're incentivized to do them. Otherwise, it's just going to be this thing again where they're initially really cheap. Some people do them, get a massive head start on currency, and then they go up to like 60 FE each. No one can do them unless you have pets. The glass half full kind of person in me says that they'll get it right. The more pessimistic view is to think that this is going to go the exact same way Deep Space did before, where they are completely balanced around people that have pets that can make the most use out of them. That is the unfortunate truth about pets. If you have an incredibly expensive resource, they are typically going to be priced around the people that extract the most amount of value from that resource. If you think of something like Magic Find in Path of Exile, those extremely expensive farms when Magic Find existed were, at least by the end of their lifespan, balanced around Magic Find. So sorry to bring up Magic Find in a Torchlight video, but you can see the principle applies, right? Initially, it'll be good for everyone because it won't be like leveled out. There'll be an imbalance, but then later on, it will be balanced around people with pets. It's an inevitability almost. So let's see how they go with that.
Bankruptcy. But don't worry.
Clockwork Ballet come into the constellation, having access to a tree to make it stronger and for you to play it exactly how you wish. Cool. Not much to go over here. Obviously, some people like Clockwork Ballet. I think it was a pretty good mechanic. It's not the mechanic I'm thinking about, when I'm thinking about playing Torchlight. This honestly isn't the mechanic that I'm like super excited to do. Maybe in Deep Space it'll be really good because it provides extra rewards to all the mobs in your map with one of the nodes that we saw from the previous season. But it's not something I'm super excited about doing, but obviously not every mechanic will be. And if you liked Clockwork Ballet, then it's back just for you to do. Then we have compasses. There are new compasses. Obviously, Clockwork Ballet is getting its own compasses, and there are tons of new ones that we can see later in the video. There's also been an adjustment to confusion cards. So if you know how they worked in the past, they would have these stars on them. So you click on it, and after 2 maps, it'll activate. So for the first map, even though you've selected the card, it won't be active. On the second map, it will be active. Now, it will be active for 4 maps, whatever the card is, which is kind of insane when you think about some of the rainbow cards and the legendary cards. This could be crazy. Obviously, this one isn't the craziest example. 20% additional flame fuel quantity for 4 maps is still very, very good. But, I'm thinking of these ones where you get four of this, right? Not necessarily this one either, but, there are some really good Chaos cards. And now getting 4 of them in a row, if they're not tailored down enough, that could be pretty insane. And pretty fun as well. I love Chaos cards. They add a lot of fun to farming, especially when you're chasing after them. And one amazing thing about this, and this is one of these things Torchlight do where they add something that I didn't know I wanted, but absolutely did. And they now added it so that when you spec into a constellation for a specific mechanic, that's what adds the cards to the Chaos card pool. So something like Indignant Might, I hate farming Trial of Might. My builds normally suck at it. Maybe because I suck, who knows. But I hate doing it. So unless I spec into it, I'm not going to see this Chaos card, because only by specing into those nodes in the constellation can I see these, which means that I can try and target farm Chaos cards that I actually want to run, maybe more powerful ones, things like Cube, the way you can drop more legendary slates and stuff like that. You can spec into those things and not worry about getting these, less desirable Chaos cards that you don't want to run. Because if you've got a constellation set up for everything but Trial of Might, and you get a rainbow Trial of Might card, it feels really bad, right? But that won't happen anymore, which is pretty cool.
To solve this, we've separated certain game pieces. We've to legendary gear.
Then what else do we have? Oh, loot goblins in Torchlight. Literally a loot goblin.
Furthermore, we've adjusted some gameplay related talent.
And you see, pretty cool. Just completely illegal. New tree for you to target farm compasses, the ones that you want to farm. Pretty cool. Probably going to be, I don't want to say it's like an insta pick, but I've seen some of these compasses and I feel like this tree is going to be one you're very likely to spec into most of the time. Just the ability to filter out different compasses, or at least to be able to get more of certain ones, is very powerful already. And compasses was something that most people had on their trees last season anyway. So this tree probably going to be one you want to pick up. As for some of the compasses, let's have a look. I'm going to have to mute Andre, I'm sorry, bro. Let me find, there's a really interesting one that I'd love to show you. This one immediately, obviously we don't know how new embers, the rarity of them, but I mean, my initial thoughts, dropped embers have a 50% chance to become ultimate embers. Are you out of your mind? Think about how expensive ultimate embers were in the past. So maybe this is going to make them much more common. This is, I'm going to go off the color and say the rarest of the ember compasses, but 50% chance for an ember to become an ultimate ember sounds pretty insane. Then we have Trial of Might, 200% additional drop quantity with no negative effect. Yeah, I think, I mean, 3 times loot from a Trial of Might. So obviously, again, this is the red one, which I'm assuming is going to be the rarest. And then, hang on, we missed that one. Go back. Oh my. I'll get it. I'm going to get it. There we go. The probability of a priceless gear having 1 base affix is greatly increased. The probability of priceless gear having 2 base affixes is greatly increased. So this is what we were talking about earlier with the inherent modifiers on an item, the synthesis mods. So we got a compass to help get those. This is going to be a very good farm, I imagine, because everyone is going to want those base modifiers. That's going to be the chase this season, I absolutely can guarantee you. What else have we got?
While this alleviated the issue of players being defeated by unidentified skills, it also excessively lowered the Netherrealm survival requirements.
So they're making some changes to the difficulty of the game, and by that, they're kind of moving stuff around. Melee mobs deal more damage. There are less like random particle effects flying around, one-shotting your character. There are a few more on-death effects. So how much harder it's going to be, we don't know, but it sounds like melee is kind of screwed, to be honest. But melee in this game is not really melee, is it?
For players to accurately measure whether their survival was up to par in front of the Netherrealm. We've done this by adjusting mobs and affixes. We've increased the proportion and threat of melee mobs.
No, there you go.
Significantly increased the movement and attack speed of Netherrealm monsters. We've maintained
the movement speed and attack speed is a very scary one. Those are very, like, a mob having turbo is very dangerous. So that one's kind of scary.
While reducing projectile skills, which negatively impact the combat experience.
So I think what's going to happen here is basically they want it so that when you're fighting a mob, that is the thing that is going to kill you. It might sound dumb, but like you're stood in front of a big mob like this guy right here. If you're stood fighting this guy, he's the thing that's going to kill you, not the 900 projectiles and watcher apparitions that are happening on the screen and firing random laser beams at you. You're against this guy, fight him, move to the next guy, fight him. That sounds like what their intention is, which is fine, right? It's not that weird.
This means players can now more accurately gauge the appearance frequency of monster death, duration of many affix skills, making them easier to recognize and dodge. To balance the survival challenges, we've increased the appearance frequency of monster death skills.
So, to increase, let me listen to that again.
Survival challenges, we've increased the appearance frequency of monster death.
To increase the survival challenge, have increased the number of on-death effects. If this is one point where I'm kind of like, what the hell? Because if you play ARPGs, dude, what is the most annoying thing in these games? On-death effects, like and he made this sound like a good thing, right? Someone said this in my chat today that they tried to make this sound like a good thing. I was like, there's no way. And listening to it back now is crazy.
Skills. This means players can now more accurately gauge whether their survival is on par or not.
Yay, on death effect. So, yeah, I mean, if you're playing a build that runs over mobs as you kill them, 07, I guess. Hopefully it's not that bad and there's kind of a delay in these effects. But yeah, on death effects, to me, they stink. I don't think that's very cool. But I trust Torchlight. They've not let me down too much in the past.
Address the issue of monotonous endgame combat. By completing these,
the path of progression is what we have here. So this has got 8 different phases, each of which having these kind of like challenges that you're going to do as you go. It's kind of like a guide. It's going to guide you to do all the things that you should realistically do for your character to go from each phase of the game to the next. These are things that if you kind of know how to play the game, and you've done it before, you'll probably do most of this without even thinking about it. You probably won't even have to open this page until you want to claim the rewards. But for some people, this will be very helpful. And as you get on, we have here, where is it? We have an example of something you can get. 20% additional flame fuel has been granted from doing something within this path of progression. They don't actually show it in the video. So you get some pretty crazy rewards. 20% global additional flame fuel drop quant is kind of crazy. So this is trying to get you to do like cube stuff, and this is going to go all the way up from phase 1 to phase 6. So it's basically teaching you each of the mechanics by getting you to do it, which is like cool. Also get some permacrysts, amazing. 19 phases in this one. This is phase 6. So this is like Killer Watcher, reach a certain amount of dummy DPS, reach a certain amount of survival, reach a certain amount of resistance, reach a certain level. You can see it's kind of like basic stuff, right? But you get free loot. Cool. Fine by me. And it's going to help some people. So why not? And you can see this one. Hold up. You might have spotted that if you're nice, if you're quick enough. XP. So whether or not this is like a global XP buff forever, we don't know. But I think it is. So yeah, you get an XP buff by doing it, which is pretty cool. And then buffs, buffs. I'm so RPG brand. Changes to the UI for mobile. You can adjust things. Changes to the trade house, just make it a bit easy to use. A really cool thing is you can now save searches. So if you make an advanced search where you're searching for very specific affixes, you can now save that search and go back to it, which is something that I'm very grateful for. Then searching for affixes within the game, you can do that and see where the affix comes from, like the source of the affix. You can do this within the game, so very cool for that. City, they've like revamped where the nodes are, so the ways to enhance the board, to add in more tiles, they're all at the beginning now. So it's going to be much faster to get your 3x3 city up and running. And then mirroring, I don't know how many people know that you can even mirror stuff in this game, but there is now a feature that allows you to list an item for a mirror service, and instead of selling someone the item, you essentially list it for a mirror fee, and they pay you that fee, they consume a reflection, and they'll get a mirrored copy of the item, or a reflected copy of the item. So cool, and I assume there will be a lot of mirrored items this league. Absolutely. I mean, think about the base affixes and the ability to make 60 items. Damn, there's going to be some crazy items. Then, of course, we spoke about all the heroes being free, except for Selena. That's what this is showing. We have the newly updated Season Pass, which is going to give you some tokens that you can use to buy the appearances that were present on the old seasonal passes, as well as just seemingly removing a bit of the clutter. I don't know about you guys, but when you'd get these chests and you'd open them and you'd get 20 respec tokens, yeah, I'd want to like, I was so annoying. I hated that. So hopefully they've just like put Primocrysts in here, because that's what people want. Like, no one's opening these chests other than for Primocrysts, and like maybe like no one wants revive tokens either. So hopefully these chests are a bit better, because those were ass in the past. Like, honestly, this season pass, I'm normally nice to Torchlight, but the season pass absolutely sucked. So hopefully they've made good changes to that, and I hope if anyone from the Torchlight team sees this, I might have the best intentions, but this shit blowed for like 6 seasons, and it was largely due to it was just underwhelming. So hopefully these changes make it better. Also, now it's not time gated. You can do all the quests as you wish, so you could finish the season pass in a day. If you're if you know what you're doing and you can get your character up and strong enough and do all these quests, you'll be absolutely blessed into the end of the seasonal pass. Then we have some changes to the Hunters Fund and the like getting back Primacris and stuff like that for the whales among you or just the light spenders. Easier to like see what boons you're buying. And then a new pet. This is the seasonal pet. Obviously going to interact with the new mechanic. The exact way that it works, I don't yet know, other than it gives you a chance to get more of the paints within your map, and those specific paints that you get will grant double loot. So it's not double loot, but a percentage of the paints that you get when socketed on your board will be 2x. So it's probably around what all the others were, right? Which is about 20-30% more loot. At least at level, 1, 2. Another pet, which is like a channel skill pet. You see it increases attack and cast speed, channel damage, move speed. Pretty cool. This is a portal effect, actually, which I thought was crazy. This is a portal. Pretty cool. A back attachment, 2 dragons that follow you around, and that one, like, as cool as it looks, like, dude, there's already so much going on the screen. Like, if you start spinning around and these tails start wagging everywhere, that's bright. I won't be able to handle that one. Nice yoga skin for the 3 people that play yoga, and a skin for the new character if you're a bit more, if you're a bit emo or on the dark side or you like goth girls and you want to play Selena. There you go. There's a little goth skin for Selena, and we'll see Andre.
New season,
there he is. New season, new everything. New me, new Milky, new Train. I mean, we forgot to even mention Train Rayhan. Is he alive? We don't know yet. We need patch notes. I hope this was enjoyable for you, at least somewhat. If you like Torchlight, if you'd like hearing me talk about Torchlight. A bit different than how I'd normally do these videos, like kind of going through it bit by bit and giving my take on things. This was a bit more of me. I'm normally a bit more structured, and I just say this was a bit more off the cuff, and let me know if you thought it was better or not. I just thought it was better to give my like personal take, a bit more like I would be on stream than kind of a structured YouTube video. I'm sure some of you just grabbed a drink and watched for 47 minutes, and now I'm waffling on until 48 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're looking forward to Torchlight. It launches on the 25th of October. I'll be streaming it, of course, every day. I'm going to do a subathon at the start, but I am going on holiday at the start of November. I'm going to watch Linkin Park in Paris. So up until then, we'll do a subathon. And then other than that, I'll be streaming Diablo 4. Waiting to play Torchlight on the 25th. As soon as the patch notes drop, I'll be going over those. There we go. That's enough yapping. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.